Hello, my name is Lauren. I'm from the channel Grand Columbia, and this is my personal channel where I talk about things that really don't have anything to do with Columbia, living in, or moving to. Today, I'm going to talk about the secret plan of Elon Musk. And no, it's not clickbait. And I have to tell you that I've been thinking about this for a very long time, and I've been waiting to see an article somewhere or a YouTube video kind of laying this out. And I haven't seen it. So this week I go on the internet and I look and I don't see it. And I don't understand why. Because to me, it's always seemed pretty obvious. So what am I talking about? Well, his stated goal, and he's been saying it for over a decade, is to establish a base on Mars. He wants to see the human race become interplanetary. Everybody knows that. Yet I see all the time how he distracts himself by all these other projects, like the tiny home business, Boxable, that he invested in. He bought one and made all the headlines. And the Boring Company. Well, why is he building tunnels under cities why doesn't he focus on SpaceX? And why is he doing the Starlink thing? And what's Tesla all about? Okay. Yeah, he's got a whole bunch of businesses. But to my mind, they're all one. They're all one business. First of all, what is the purpose of business? Business to make money. What does he need to go do this project on Mars? He's going to need a bucket load of money. Now, the latest reporting that I've seen on the Boring Company, based on some new contracts, is the valuation next year will probably be about $1 trillion. Tesla's, he's knocked it out of the park. I mean, he's making more cars than anybody in the world. That means he's selling them. So he's creating a ton of money, and it's obvious he's the richest man on the planet. It's not by accident. He's always seen businesses as a way to make money to further other goals. You know, his X.com and then PayPal, he gets them going, he sells them, makes a ton of money, does the next one, makes a ton of money, moves on to the next one. So let's start with Tesla, his first big project. Why? Why the electric car? And I admit it may be confusing because he purports all the time to say that it's about, the clean air and, it's good for the environment. Except most of us know that electric cars basically run on coal. And the batteries are toxic and there's all kinds of issues with it. And if you factor everything in, they're dirtier and more expensive than combustion engines. Now, people that don't really pay attention may not know that, but it doesn't take much to figure it out. So what's the deal? Well, the deal is he's perfecting electrification. When he built the houses with solar panels and he's doing these battery banks, and then he's doing the Tesla cars, it's all about perfecting the efficiency, the quality of these things, because you know what? It's what they're going to have to run on Mars because they don't have fossil fuels. So he's going to have to use electrified energy. So how is he going to do that? Well, it'll be a lot easier to do it if he makes them smaller, better, faster, more efficient. And that's exactly what he's been working on. He's going to need rovers. And what better than to perfect the science of that by creating things like the Cybertruck. Okay, those are all fairly obvious, and you'll see a lot of videos where it'll show a clip of Mars and it'll show a Cybertruck on there, show the moon. So I think people kind of get that. But then you got the Boring Company. What the hell is that about? Why is he digging in the earth? Well, he's been perfecting that. He's on his third iteration that comes out in a month or two. He's made these much more efficient, much more reliable. What's that have to do with Mars? Well, if you're going to live on Mars or many other planets, you got a real problem that you have to address. And it's the biggest problem. How are you going to live somewhere where you're being radiated constantly, severely? Well, you can't unless you make precautions. So first of all, it's important to know that while we have the magnetosphere that directs away radiation from the sun, Mars doesn't. That engine, its core quit operating. So it doesn't exist, and that's what happened to their atmosphere. Mars once had an atmosphere, but the sun kind of pounded away because there's no protection. That's why there's not much of an atmosphere left. So the radiation is pretty fierce. He's going to have to go underground. Now, I know they put out a video showing this nice city on Mars, and it got bigger and bigger. It's not realistic. It's not practical. It won't work. However, if you take one of his new, efficient, 5th or 6th generation boring machine, he can create an underground area sealed for oxygen and will work fantastic. He spent years developing it. Now, if he can make money on Earth with it, that's great. But I don't think somebody who's obsessed with going to Mars was obsessed about digging tunnels on Earth, unless it was a means to an end. And so you're going to see the city on Mars, okay, but it's going to be underground. So how far underground do you have to go? Well, you have to go at least 20 feet to shield the radiation. And you've got to factor, give or take some, with the dirt of Mars, because we don't really have much of it here, although they've run tests. Now, and there's a toxin in the dirt of Mars, perchlorate. It's about 1% of the dirt. It's about 1% of the dirt. And that could be a problem. So what do you do? Well, he's been digging tunnels 40 feet underground. Another problem on Mars is we now know, because they've been measured, they get a lot of earthquake, or Marsquake, should I say? Lots of them. Thousands of them a year. The problem with earthquakes is on the surface. He once addressed this, and he likened it to if you're in a severe storm and you're on top of the ocean, the waves are going to batter you to death. However, if you're in a submarine underneath the waves, smooth as silk. He talked about that once. Think these things aren't in his mind? Of course they are. Being 40 feet underground is going to address that issue as well. Now, what do you do with this perchlorate? Well, first of all, this machine, this boring company machine, is somewhat automated. By the time it gets to Mars, it should be fully automated. It not only digs it out, but it sets up a casing, which you'll be able to fill it with oxygen. So it sets up this casing, and coming out of it will be the regolith or dirt from Mars that can be treated and can be used as other kinds of building materials, walls, things like that. How do you treat it? Well, there's a bacteria that eats perchlorate. It farts out oxygen. Well, isn't that convenient? There's also treatment that you can do to do the same thing, but it kind of makes sense. So you just kind of release this bacteria, and so you're not only cleaning up the toxins, but you're creating a source of oxygen. Getting oxygen on Mars won't be an issue. Okay, so that makes sense. So you've got these tunnels. Well, the machines will do more than that. He's been using it in Las Vegas, and you see there's large areas. It doesn't have to just be a tunnel. So that's going to be taken care of. It'll be safe from all these dangers. But what else? How are you going to go out and work on Mars? How are you going to go out on the surface and work? I wonder why he's been making this Tesla bot. And I wonder why he's put so much into the Neuralink. Wouldn't it be interesting if you could kind of sit in a relaxed armchair with a Neuralink as you're directing that robot as though it were you, and you're out walking around on Mars without any of the danger, being able to do whatever it is you need to do, whether it's build, whether it's explore, whether it's to gather, mine. You're sitting in comfort and safety while these robots go out and do the work. All of this seems so obvious to me. So why Starlink? Well, Mars is going to need communication. And what better communication than to have internet? And they say, oh, wait a minute, the distance from Mars, it'll be anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes before you receive. That's very true. And right now, there's no way to speed that up. However, once you start streaming, for example, it'll keep streaming. So if I go into Netflix and it takes me 20 minutes to get the signal, I go have a lunch or a snack, I come back, I sit down, it's there, it's started, and I can live stream out of Netflix by using Starlink around Mars with a satellite that's communicating back to Earth. And what's to stop from setting up a supercomputer and simply start downloading the internet? I don't think any of this is a coincidence. And this guy is brilliant beyond belief. It's not that I'm a Elon Musk groupie and he can't do any wrong, but you have to see genius where it is. I mean, this guy, he wasn't a rocket scientist, but he couldn't hire good quality rocket scientists when he began SpaceX, because who wants to go work for a company that probably won't exist in 6 months from now? So he learned it himself. And lo and behold, it worked. And now he's pumping rockets up at a clip. It's like, something like 100 rockets this year. It's blown past its all-time record. It's crazy what he's doing, and he's doing it on his intellect. I contend that everything he's doing has the single goal of putting humans on another planet. Now, personally, I wonder, is Mars the best choice? We probably have 1 or 2 planets around Jupiter that might be better suited. And why not the moon? Well, moon might be close to Earth, so if there's a catastrophe, it could be affected. I get it. In any case, everything he's been doing is making all the impossibilities of Mars possible. And if those bacteria happen to run rampant on Mars, and it starts building up an oxygen atmosphere, but somehow he would have to get the magnetic core of Mars to operate again. Yet I wouldn't put it past the guy. Tell me what you think about it. You think I'm crazy? I think it's obvious. It's always been obvious to me. I don't understand why I can't find anybody talking about this. If you can, please send me a message. Thank you. And I'll see you on the next coffee time.